Okay, let's do a test here. Good morning. Oh, yeah, morning. I was going to say almost good afternoon. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. And some breaking news, breaking updates with regards to this Jason Billingsley. There's going to be a press conference at 11. There's a few things we can talk about before then, because we talked about this yesterday. There was a prior incident a week before this woman was murdered. Pava LaPere, 26-year-old CEO. This is out of Baltimore. And this other incident that happened is crazy. Like, we didn't get many details yesterday. We had kind of heard about it. People were asking if it was connected. Police weren't really confirming. Now it seems like it's pretty much confirmed. Arson and another person that was held at gunpoint. It's crazy. So viewer discretion advised. I figured let's start off a little recap with watching this video, and then we'll talk about this article. There was a vigil as well yesterday where her family spoke. I think after the press conference, we'll take a look at a snippet of that vigil. And by the way, too, make sure you guys check out my backup channel, okay? I'm finally making an official backup channel. So the link is going to be in the chat. It's in the description. Let's just try to get the subs up. I haven't posted anything on there yet. I want to start something fresh and clean on there. We'll talk more about that later after this.
From WJZ, this is breaking news.
Breaking news this morning, the search for this man, Jason Billingsley, is now over.
The suspect in the murder of a young Baltimore tech CEO was taken into custody overnight.
The story has made national headlines, and we're breaking it all down for you this morning with live team coverage from Amy Kawada and Alexis Davila.
And the police department is preparing to provide more information on this arrest later this morning. But we want to first get a check with Amy, who is breaking down what we know so far. Amy, good morning.
And the interesting thing about this clip, I believe Jason's mother actually apologizes to the victim's family. Oh, and thank you, BL, for sending me the information on this press conference and these articles. Thank you.
Tim, Sina, good morning. Well, after 2 days on the run, sparking a statewide manhunt and leaving the community on edge, Jason Billingsley has been arrested. Our media partner, the Baltimore Banner, says that U.S. Marshals took him into custody last night just after 11 at his train station in Bowie. Billingsley, who was considered highly dangerous while on the run, had been wanted on a first-degree murder arrest for the killing of 26-year-old Pava LaPere, CEO and founder of iCkEdMeL Technologies. Her body was found Monday morning at her apartment building in Mount Vernon and had signs of blunt force trauma. She had been reported missing. It's also worth noting, officials say the apartment building was secured, but police have not yet released any information on how Billingsley got inside. The arrest.
And I'm wondering, with this previous incident, I wonder if he did something similar to get inside this building or to lure Pava.
Brings to a close an unsettling few days as new and disturbing details continue to emerge about Billingsley. Investigators are now connecting the 32-year-old to an attempted murder, arson, and rape case last week in West Baltimore that left 2 people fighting for their lives. Baltimore police say Billingsley was a violent repeat offender with a lengthy record that includes first and second-degree assault and attempted rape. He was also a registered sex offender.
Crazy.
While Billingsley was still on the run, his mother, Scarlett, was among those urging him to turn himself in.
I can't understand what happened that he would do something like that.
It looks like he's been doing it for a long time, though, with his criminal history starting at, I think, the age of 18 or 19. Long rap sheet criminal history.
And again, later this morning at 11, we're expecting to hear from the acting police commissioner, the mayor, and city state's attorney as they announce the arrest of Jason Billingsley. And coming up in about a half hour from now at 5:30, we're hearing more from Jason Billingsley's mother and her apology to LaPere's family. For now, reporting live this morning, I'm Amy Kawada for WJZ.
Morning with Alexis Davila.
Alexis, Billingsley was arrested just hours after LaPere's friends and family gathered right where you're standing.
Absolutely. LaPere's father was here last night at the vigil and shared some touching words about his daughter and even the tragic way that her life was taken. And others who are close to LaPere also expressed how she had this desire and dedication to change Baltimore and they say she did just that. Now, here in Washington Monument in Mount Vernon, this was in a packed area with company friends and family of Pava LaPere. They shared stories expressing their love for her and the impact she strived to make in this community. Her family says she made Baltimore her home after graduating from Johns Hopkins University. As she helped students create startups, she helped create iCkEdMeL Technologies. The company organized the vigil to encourage people to remember her as a champion for the city.
So I want to thank you all for being here and for loving our daughter and taking care of her.
Pava woke up every day with the belief that she and we together had the power to ignite change. Together we can show the world that she was right.
Coming up at 5:30, we will hear the touching words from the co-founder of the tech company.
Okay, so now let's get to this thing right here is pretty crazy and wild. Again, your discretion is advised. And thank you guys for joining me this morning. I appreciate it. If you could hit the like button, subscribe to the backup channel as well, because we have issues with notifications and we have all this other stuff that I want to do and people are missing them. So, okay, so this came out, I think this morning. Says exclusive shocking photos show charred basement where Jason Billingsley, prime suspect in Pava LaPere's killing, is believed to have AR'd a mom while her partner watched and then set the home on fire. Now, police, there was this arson thing. We were watching the press conference yesterday. They were referencing about something about arson and like, could that be linked? And they kind of really wouldn't answer. I didn't think or know that it would even be related to this incident that happened a week before Pava was killed. This is the charred basement where the prime suspect in the Pava LaPere killing is thought to have been AR'd and set fire to a defenseless mom and her partner 1 week earlier. I mean, this guy, Jason was apprehended Wednesday by cops at a train station around 30 miles from where LaPere was found bludgeoned to death. So they said blunt force trauma. They didn't mention anything about R. I think they said her clothes was partially removed. I mean, you can only imagine this guy's MO. This guy needs to be locked away forever. I mean, he was let out because of good credit or some crap. Billingsley was tracked by law enforcement to the Mark train station on Laurel Bowie Road in Bowie, Prince George's County at 11:10 p.m. was taken into custody without incident. Daily Mail previously revealed that detectives are probing links between Pava's slaying and an unsolved arson attack and sex assault on a young couple that took place 1 week earlier in nearby West Baltimore. The suspect in this earlier incident is believed to have posed as a maintenance man. So, you know, Pava, we were looking at her building yesterday. So she lives on the top floor, I believe the 7th floor. I got the picture here. This one gives us like a better view. She lives here on the tippy top, this red part here, but her body was found on the roof and people were questioning how did she end up there. I think they even said something about needing a ladder to get up there. So I don't know. And people were, you know, did this guy just move her up there after the fact? Did he somehow get her to go up there? You know, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out today with this press conference. But it's very telling too that his previous incident posing as a maintenance man, which we had that whole case happen here in Florida, Maya Marcano, where the maintenance man, an actual maintenance man, killed her. So I don't know, did he try some tactic like that? So he posed as a maintenance man to walk his way inside the couple's townhouse on September 19th before tying them up both in a basement bedroom. He AR'd the young woman at knife point as her partner looked on, powerless to intervene, then doused the room with gas and fled. That's so messed up on so many levels. I forgot what killer used to do that sometimes too. I don't know if the Golden State Killer. I forgot. I thought I was listening to a podcast. I thought sometimes he would do that maybe. Then doused the room with a gas and fled, according to accounts from both police source and neighbor. Because I think the Golden State Killer thought he would like tie them up, pound them. So this is that basement here, charred. Let me take myself off the screen for a second. I guess hoping to kill them, or I don't know what he was planning on doing there. Maybe get rid of evidence. This is the building. Images obtained exclusively by Daily Mail show the windows boarded up at the home where Billingsley is believed to have fired a young woman at knife point as her partner looked on. So this is a local resident, Tyree Nickerson, 46, told the Daily Mail that the man and woman were left to die. This is the most updated picture. Every is horrified. We want to know what he said to get in there in case he tries again. So this is like a boarded up window, I guess, to the basement maybe. LaPere. This is her building where she lives now. So 2 different incidents. This is the most recent one, but a week prior was this burnt basement thing where somebody was downstairs. Let me check the thing here real quick too. I want to make sure we don't miss this press conference. Okay, nothing yet. Just make sure I have one channel here, but I want to make sure we don't miss this. No, nothing yet. Okay. Just make sure Facebook. 828 Caroline, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, good morning, Mel Mods. Best chat fam ever. Good morning. Yeah, we're here early today. Oh, by the way, I'm coming back later too, guys, at 1:30 p.m. There's a, I found a link. Good. There's a hearing from Harmony Montgomery. This is a case that we covered. I did a video with a lot of details, so maybe I'll put the link to that. The trial's coming up in the end of November. Adam Montgomery, he's trying to like extend or delay the murder trial. So there's a hearing about that. So at 1:30, I'm going to come back. I will have to probably leave at some point, but I'll leave it up and I'll come back. I'll watch it on my phone. So this is the other building. This building here, this is where the incident happened a week ago. Windows boarded up at the home where Billingsley is believed to have fired a woman at knife point as her partner looked on and doused the room with gas and fled. So I'm not sure what's up with this building and all these floors are boarded up. I guess because of the fire, obviously, then. My understanding is that he just left them to die, the local resident said. I feel terrible for what they witnessed or experienced. She is such a beautiful woman, friendly and vibrant, and he tormented and violated her. The incident began when firefighters responded to 9:24 a.m. At 9:24 a.m. to a smoke billowing from the basement in Edmondson Avenue, just a block from one of Billingsley's previous homes. The Baltimore PD said a man and woman, both age 26, were rescued but had suffered burns and multiple injuries. So he was trying to kill them. A 5-year-old child was found upstairs. Wow. Suffering from smoke inhalation. A police source told Daily Mail the attacker had initially targeted the woman, assaulting her and slashing her throat with a knife. The child is recovering, but the 2 adults were left in critical condition. Neither have been named. A guy knocked on the door and acted as a maintenance man, said Nickerson, who arrived home in the aftermath and says he spoke at length with the victim's landlord. He got in the house, he tied the guy up and then R the girl in front of him. After he finished R-ing the girl, he just started dousing the room and lit it on fire. Everybody is horrified. We just want to know what he said to get in there in case he tries again. Nickerson added, I have to believe he has a gun. You can't tie 2 people up just with a knife. That doesn't make sense. I think it's still possible. Let me check this live link here. They're still not ready. Let's see. I mean, this guy
Mic check, 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1.
is an animal to do that.
Check, test, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, testing, 1, 2, 3.
All right, so they're still getting set up. Images obtained by Daily Mail show the blackened shell where the horrifying R and arson unfolded. Today, the dingy underground bedroom is strewn with scorched clothes, charred furniture, and wrecked electrical items. At the center is a bed covered with ash and debris. There are several lengths of charred wire on the floor, and the television is melted into a black plastic blob. 3-floor building remains boarded up and uninhabited. can't read this morning. Police issued an arrest warrant for Billingsley Tuesday, along with a stark warning to the public. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah, this person. And so in 2013, so he has this thing where he acts as a good Samaritan, acts as a maintenance person, because the other incident in 2013, he posed as a good Samaritan. And in that incident, it was a woman arguing with her boyfriend. The stranger introduced himself as Jason, asked the distressed woman, who is now 35, what was wrong before offering her a place to stay. When they got to the place, he told them that they have to climb through the window because he lost his keys. They both sat on the bed, and he said he wanted to have sex with her. And he struck her in the face and placed both his hands around her neck and began to apply pressure. So we talked about that yesterday as well. All right. Yeah, the guy is what's going on with my voice and everything. The guy's 305 pounds, 6'2", I think, 6'3". Yeah, people might be afraid of a knife for sure. I think it's possible. So I think it's very possible. They're live now. All right, so I have two alternatives. All right, yeah. So make sure you guys check out the backup channel again. Don't forget, whether it's now or after the stream, it's in the chat and in the description. And then we're also going to be back later again for a little bit. See what's going on with Harmony Montgomery, because we plan to cover that trial in November if it still happens then. The other thing as well, guys, so I'm hearing Brandy was telling me that this OnlyFans murder trial is next week. So I don't know if you guys want to cover that. It's actually a Florida story. We've been kind of overdue for a trial. I think it's going to be streamed. I think jury selection starts. Is it next week? I'll try to clarify that and see when it starts. Courtney Clenny. Oh, there! Look, the notes over there. Now close up. Press conference. Okay. I was just looking at the people's notes. Yeah, I heard that's next week. That's the OnlyFans model that allegedly killed her boyfriend. Florida story. Bowie. Whispers in my ear, do it. Courtney Clenny. See if there's any new updates here. It's been updated in a while. So I'll try to confirm the date. It almost looks like it happened, but
She was the death
from yesterday. The backup channel too, I was thinking, I don't know, if we're out of notifications here, we could stream a chase over there. I'm thinking clips and like short highlight stories, maybe funny moments, and potentially chases. I mean, eventually in the future, maybe we'll have a chase channel too, like a separate chase channel. Right now, I just don't want to create too many things separation, you know. Cavalcante. The backup link is in the chat. I'll drop it again. It's in the chat. Ah, man, I know the Sarah Boone thing is taking forever. Let's see this one here.
Ivan Bates. Now, as soon as this news conference begins, we will bring it to you live.
Okay. All right, so we're just waiting now. Waiting game. Born. We need a good chase. We haven't had a good chase. I mean, I missed the one that was actually good. I missed two of them, I guess. The golf cart chase, which was kind of short. And there was another one that was pretty nuts over the last weekend. Oh, and again, by the way, for those that don't know, this influencer, I spoke about this yesterday. This influencer, the other night where we briefly talked about the riots in Philly, the social media influencer, she has a big following on Instagram. She got arrested. So she was charged with risking catastrophe, criminal mischief, riot, and other charges after live streaming last night's looting on social media. I don't know if she stole anything or not. I don't think it's just because you're filming. I thought that some people had said that she might have done some stuff. I don't really know. I knew when she was streaming that stuff that it was a bad idea. So she got caught up and arrested. I think she's already out. And the ironic thing is that people are using her videos to identify other suspects. They're like, damn, ooh, the quality. Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. So I guess they're, arresting other people. Chat saying good. Thank you for subscribing, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you for subbing to the other channel. I think I need 1,000 subs to live stream on the other channel. So, probably whenever I have a chance, I'll probably start posting clips, and then eventually when we get to 1,000, I'll just I can do a little live streams from there, whatever it is. Figure out what we're gonna do. So at least so we have double notifications. The other thing too we did yesterday, I did a little test on Discord. So we have Discord. You can join for free. There's something called a staging area. I don't want that. There's a staging area, and over here we did a little test last night. It's kind of cool. They're about to start, but we can like watch videos together. Like we can have a pretty large crowd of people watching videos, and I can talk and comment on it. Because sometimes everything's not great for YouTube. Manny, thanks for the super chat. Can you cover the trial of Timothy Ferry? I haven't heard of that. I'll take a look. I don't know when that is. Depends when it's happening. Let me type it in. Timothy. Dad who rejected plea. said faces trial. Oh, jury selection begins Friday. What's that? Boy locked in a box trial. Wow, what's that? Jury begins Friday in Florida. Barry is accused of keeping his adopted son locked in an 8x8 box. He rejected a plea deal where he was offered 24 months prison plus. He now faces a 40-year sentence. Wow, that might be interesting. So let's take a look at that. Over the next couple of days, maybe I'll ask BL or some of the mods. We can look at some of that to figure out. Maybe we can do that next week. I don't know. It depends what that OnlyFans thing is actually happening too. I don't know.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. Joining me today are Mayor Brandon Scott, State's Attorney Ivan Bates, Chief Deputy Matthew Silverman of U.S. Marshals, representatives from our Criminal Investigation Division, as well as Councilman Costello and Councilman Conway of our City Council.
I'll turn it up.
We're here to announce the arrest of Jason Dean Billingsley for the September 25th murder of Pava LaPere and the September 19th arson and rape incident on Edmondson Avenue. Billingsley was taken into custody in Bowie at approximately 11 o'clock last night by our Warrant Apprehension Task Force, U.S. Marshals, Capital Area Regional Fugitive Task Force, Maryland State Police, Baltimore County Police, Prince George's County Police, Howard County Police, and ATF, as well as Bowie State University Police and D.C. Metro Police all worked together to take him into custody. I want to thank all our partners for their assistance in apprehending this violent criminal. Through the tireless efforts of the men and women of the Baltimore Police Department and our local, state, and federal partners, we are able to capture this violent criminal without incident or further loss of life. I know this arrest does not bring back Pava LaPere or take away the heels of the many victims of Mr. Billingsley. But my hope is at least we can give a sense of closure to the city of Baltimore, the victims of all of his crimes and all their families. Investigators continually and actively review all open cases since his release in October of 2022 to determine any connections that exist. We're going to put this individual, this violent criminal offender, repeat offender, back in jail where he belongs. Now let's all work together to make sure that he stays there. What I can confirm in reference to this incident and the reference to the incident on September 29th, right now, all the indications are that this was not a random act of violence. We have information to believe that the victims from Edmondson Avenue were targeted by the suspect, that the suspect knew the victims, and he went into that location for a criminal reason. We know that the victim and suspect were known to each other. Additionally, we know that the suspect did not break into the building as he worked at that location. Through witness testimony and surveillance, we were able to develop the identity of the suspect, and a warrant was issued for him for Edmondson Avenue within hours. I can confirm that the warrant was a priority, and we brought in our law enforcement partners from the U.S. Marshals, as well as a flyer was distributed to every single officer in the Baltimore Police Departments. Our detectives, alongside our partners at the Marshals, were monitoring and surveilling to apprehend the suspect. This includes tracking his phone, looking at financial transactions, looking at social media, surveilling known addresses, speaking to multiple witnesses, and listening to his previous jail calls. Additionally, there were several instances in which we were able to track a close proximity of his location, however, he was still able to elude. As a matter of fact, we had the press conference the other day about Ms. LaPere's death. We were delayed that press conference because we were within about 88 meters of capturing the suspect, but he was able to elude our capture. We knew early on that the risk that the risk was when we went public that the suspect would go underground, which is exactly what he did. As soon as the news conference happened the other day, he basically left the location where he was at. We did a search warrant at one location. He had just left because he saw the news conference. In reference to the homicide of Ms. LaPere, we are still processing all evidence to determine exactly what occurred. We do know that there was no forced entry in the apartment building, as this was a secured building. We don't know if there are any connections previously to Ms. LaPere or Mr. Billingsley. This is what we will continue to investigate, as well as the incident on Evanston Avenue. I want to be very clear that in reference to both incidents and throughout these investigations, all information that was provided was based on preliminary details available at the time. Every BPD officer received notification of the warrant on September 20th, and they were aggressively trying to capture the individual and to locate his whereabouts and take him into custody. Since then, he has been continued to be our #1 priority until his capture last night. Our WATF task force, as well as the U.S. Marshals, started to track him on September 20th, and we tracked him all the way until we captured him yesterday. I'm aware that the last few days have been unnerving for our citizens, and I sincerely hope we are able to find a little bit of peace today. I ask that we continue to respect the privacy and safety in the families of the victims and witnesses at this time. Our priorities will always be the safety of our residents and apprehending those individuals responsible for those crimes. At this time, I will now hand it over to Chief Deputy Matthew Silverman of U.S. Marshals.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everybody, and good morning. My name is Matthew Silverman, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving you all as the Chief Deputy United States Marshal for the District of Maryland. First and foremost, I would like to express my condolences to the victims affected by this tragic situation. All the families, our thoughts and prayers go out to each one of you and the citizens of Baltimore. With that said, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the work done by all of our criminal investigators, detectives, and police officers who serve on our Capital Area Regional Fugitive Task Force. These dedicated professionals worked around the clock to locate this and apprehend this violent fugitive. Because of their tireless efforts of the Baltimore City Police Department, the Maryland State Police, the Prince George's County Police Department, and our other federal and state partners, we were able to secure this individual without any further incidents. This arrest truly speaks to the power of our public interest and safety partnerships with each one of you. I thank everybody for all the continued support, and hopefully we don't have to be up here anytime soon to do another press conference.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our colleagues, my elected colleagues, Councilman Costello, Councilman Conway, of course, the fabulous people that did this work from both the marshals, the BPD, our homicide detectives, because we gave you all our word that we would not stop until we brought this individual in and that we exhausted every resource to make sure that we brought him in to keep our residents safe. It is very clear that this individual posed a substantial danger, that he had been non-compliant and was clearly violating the terms of his supervision after being released. And that alone should be enough to make sure that we keep him off the streets. This morning, I want to commend the excellent work of not just the BPD, the marshals, all of our law enforcement partners who worked together in apprehending this gentleman for the murder of Pava and the rape on Evanston Avenue, because every single life in Baltimore matters. Pava's life mattered. Those individuals who he impacted in other incidents matter. Those who he's done it to in the past, their lives matter. As you know, I had the pleasure of knowing Pava, and she was truly a light in our city and in this world. It's heartbreaking that she is no longer here with us, especially at the hands of someone who, as I said the other day, should not have been on the streets in the first place. We will continue to make sure that we are working with our state's attorney and our partners to make sure that he does not get that same fate again, that he does not get back out on the streets here in Baltimore with the opportunity to harm others. I had the opportunity to speak with Pablo's family late last night, giving them the news of this arrest, and we're going to again ask that everyone continue to pour light and love into their family, pour light and love into our community, our city, all of those who know Pablo. Our entire city heart aches with them. And while this arrest will not bring her back, I hope that it does begin the process of closure for her family, her friends, her community, and all of Baltimore. To our residents, thank you for continuing to do that wrapping around. Thank you for every tip that was sent in, every single notice that we got, because we all have to work together to do this and make Baltimore a safer city, just as this city does anytime we lose a federal Baltimorean. To BPD and our law enforcement partners, thank you for your dedication, your diligence, and your persistence in tracking this individual down before he could harm anyone else. I hope this sends a message to everybody else who likes to commit these kind of cowardly, horrendous acts to know that we will not tolerate it and we will pull you off of the streets of Baltimore. And with that, I will turn it over to our state's attorney.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor Scott. Again, this case will end up before my office. Therefore, I cannot discuss any of the facts. As our Constitution says, everybody's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. However, I want to begin where all of our focus should remain, and that is with the victims of both cases and their families. My thoughts and prayers continue to be with them, even as we stand here to announce an arrest in this case. And my hope is that we have some measure of relief today, all the citizens of our area, knowing just how hard everybody has worked to ensure that the suspect has been apprehended. I want to extend my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Baltimore City Police Department, Baltimore County Police Department, U.S. Marshals, Prince George's County Police Department, Warrant Apprehensive Task Force, and everybody else within law enforcement that collaborated to make sure that this individual could be now in custody. I also want to applaud my own offices, Homicide Division and SVU prosecutors. They worked in collaboration with the Baltimore City Police Department around the clock. They had to ensure what we were going to do in putting this case together. Now, where do we go from here? I've decided that two of my most experienced prosecutors will have this case. They worked with this case from the very beginning. Every single lead, every single detail, they have been involved. They will have this case, and they will eventually present this case, as all cases go, in front of the grand jury. And if and when the grand jury gives us the indictments, my office will file life without the possibility of parole. Our hope and goal is, if this individual is found guilty in a court of law, that this individual will never get out to see the light of day again and to ever hurt any of the citizens of our fine city ever again. At this time point, I will turn this back over to the commissioner.
Probably they don't have, I don't think they have the death sentence over there, capital punishment.
We'll take questions.
Can't even hear what you're saying.
Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News. This is a question for Acting Commissioner Worley and Mayor Brandon Scott. You said Billingsley was being tracked, yet he was still able to commit another violent, heinous act. How is that so? And at what point do you weigh the community safety? This was a violent rapist who was roaming the streets of Baltimore, and the public had no idea. Could this knowledge have prevented Pava's death?
I'm not going to speculate whether it could have prevented her death, but what I know we did is, as soon as we realized that there was a public safety, we had the press conference. The first incident on Edmondson Avenue was not a random act. Had it been a random act, we would have put out a flyer right away saying that this individual was on the loose committing random acts. We know pretty much why he went into that house on Edmondson Avenue and why he committed those acts. He worked at that building. He was familiar with the victims. I'm not going to say too much more because I don't want to talk bad about victims. But he was there for a reason. And it was at that point, our detectives and everyone in the department decided that we didn't think at that point that he was committing random acts because we knew he had been out since October 2022. Wow. And we had no incidents that he has been connected to. We're going to go back and look and see if we have anything that he could be connected to. But at that time, we did not believe that he was committing random acts. We think he committed a targeted act on the victims that he victimized that day.
And my follow-up question, I mean, there are a lot of eyes on this press conference. People are angry. Your message to them, if they're questioning why they should trust the Baltimore Police Department with their safety?
The main reason is if we made a mistake, I'd tell you we made a mistake like I did in Brooklyn. I don't think we made a mistake in this case. I think our detectives made the same decision we make every single time based on the facts and circumstances that we have. And as soon as we realized he had committed an act that seemed to be random, that we still don't know connections there yet, we put the flyer out, and just as we thought, as soon as he saw the flyer, he tried to elude capture and turned off all devices we were able to track him on.
Thank you.
And just to add, Alexa, to that, I think we have to understand that residents should trust the Baltimore Police Department in doing their work because they do that work each and every day. It was the Baltimore Police Department that did the work that led to the initial case that he was in prison for. And what the residents of Baltimore should be doing is questioning why he was let out and how that happened. And that's not on the police department. And they're the ones who are out here arresting folks for murder, taking record numbers of guns off the street, having a double-digit deficit in homicides, reducing that each and every day alongside our law enforcement partners. They are doing that work. But we know that we're talking about a system that we also have to deal with because they didn't decide to let this sociopath back out on the streets of Baltimore.
Thank you.
Phil Yakubuski from WBAL News Radio. This question is for the commissioner. What were the circumstances surrounding his arrest late last night? Where in Bowie did he admit to it at that point? You said without incident. Did he have a weapon? Can you describe exactly what happened? Yeah, we got information that we knew where he was at, or we knew where he was going. PG County SWAT set up, and when he showed his face, they took him into custody without incident. There was, I can't comment on what happened after we interviewed him or if we recovered a weapon. Knowing what you know now, should you have put out a better photo of him earlier after the Edmondson Avenue incident?
Hindsight's always 20/20. If I would have known that he was going to go and kill someone, we would have put the flyer out. But we had no indication that he was committing random acts. This was a targeted act that he went into that apartment that he worked in, the building that he worked in, that he had access to the apartment. He was allowed in the apartment. So there was no reason to believe that he was out committing random acts. Had we believed that, the flyer would have came out to everyone on September 20th as soon as we got the warrant.
Justin Fenton, Baltimore Banner. Is it accurate that you've received information that there may be another dead person in a vacant home, and is that valid?
No, that's the first I'm hearing of that.
Secondly, I truly understand the difficulty of putting out information when you're not sure if the person did it or if you don't want to alert the suspect. But jumping to the press conference on Tuesday, you were asked point blank if there was other crimes. You did not answer that question. The mayor did not answer that question. You did not talk about the Edmondson Avenue incident, even though there was a warrant out, even though he was now on notice that he was being looked for. Why was that incident? Why did you refuse to acknowledge and discuss that incident?
I think I answered that earlier because at that time we were tracking him.
That's not what I'm asking. Once you put out a press conference saying you're looking for him for the murder in Mount Vernon, why didn't you acknowledge the incident on Edmondson Avenue where there was a warrant out for a week?
Because there was 2 victims from Edmondson Avenue that were still out. One was in the hospital, one was at their location. We had to get them protection if we were going to put that information out. And we had to send Anne Arundel County, and we had to protect those 2 victims because we didn't know what this guy was going to do, if he was going to go back and try to apprehend them. Plus, once he saw the press conference for the homicide, we didn't know where he was going to go. We knew several locations he could go, and we had those all under surveillance. And they were actively tracking him while we were at this press conference. That's why it was that press conference. That's why it was delayed for 30 minutes.
Elizabeth Worthington from WMAR 2 News. I had the same question as Justin. What changed then between the press conference on Tuesday and yesterday when you did release the information that he was wanted in both cases?
As soon as we realized that he had confirmed that he was the suspect in both cases, then we knew he was fleeing at that point, so we had to get it out as soon as possible. As soon as we realized he had done what we considered at the time as a random act, then that changes everything from the first act, which was targeted. Once there's a random act, then we don't know what he's going to do. And once we had the press conference and say that he's out there, because we didn't know that he was going to watch the press conference. We didn't know that he would be watching it. Once that's out there, plus we have an investigation once we take him into custody to speak to him about the Edmondson Avenue case without giving up any details that we would know on that case. So those are all things that were taken into consideration as to why we didn't answer that. We already had him wanted for the murder.
Follow-up question is for the mayor. I know you kind of touched on this a bit on Tuesday, but I think people are still really upset about the fact that he was let out of jail at all. Do you think something should change? Do you think that the violent offenders should not even be eligible for those good time credits that he got?
I think that, and I'll say this again, I think that every single case is different. But when you go, and I know that you'll do this, and you go and look at the facts of that original case, you will agree that he shouldn't have been out on the streets. Every case, every individual is different, right? And I think that that's what has to happen, that we have to continuously look at things as they are, but the facts as they are for this case, for someone who committed rape, he shouldn't have been out on the streets.
Thank you.
Yeah. So who the judge?
Mike Halgren, WJZ. Can you say, was Billingsley cooperative? Has he consented to any sort of interview by your detectives and provided you any more information about why he did what he did?
I can say he was cooperative when we took him into custody because he was surrounded by a SWAT team. So he did cooperate and turn himself in. We're not going to release anything about the interview with the detectives.
And I don't know if this would be for Mr. Bates or others. I mean, are you looking back at how the case was, handled and any, perhaps deal that was made back in 2015? And do you think that there should be some reform to these good time credits at all?
You put me on the spot again with the law, huh? A couple things we did. Yes,
PA,
we
right?
immediately went back. We pulled the file. And pulling the file, what we definitely noticed was that a plea was given. And the plea was a little bit below guidelines. I'm not here to talk about it. It was a different administration. That prosecutor is no longer there. But with every single case, there are different issues that you have to look at. Are the witnesses and victims cooperative? What's the evidence? Things like that. So I'm not going to go back and say hindsight's 2020. But you also sit down and look at what's called DIM, or diminution credits, within the Division of Correction. In 2016, the legislature passed a law that said if you do a sex offense, a rape, or a sexual assault on someone 16 or younger, you are not eligible for diminution credits. Maybe the legislature could maybe look at what first-degree sex offense or first-degree rape. Are these individuals still going to be eligible for diminution credits? If that was the law then in 2013, when he was first arrested, then he would not have been eligible for parole.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cassidy Jensen from Baltimore Sun. Hi. Thank you. A little short. For the commissioner, can you say, was he armed when he was arrested? How was he able to be brought in without incident?
I think when he was surrounded by the SWAT team, he got the message that he might want to give up. And Prince George's County SWAT team was waiting for him. When he showed his face, they took him into custody. I don't know if he was armed. We processed it. We won't release that because it's all part of the evidence.
Sure. And then a question earlier about the protection for victims, and that was a reason why. When were they sort of given protection, and why weren't they given protection before that press conference?
Well, one was in the hospital. We had no indication that he was going to go back after them. But once we would have put out that they were part of it and he knew that we were part of it, he could possibly go back and try to harm them and finish what he didn't on that day in Edmondson Avenue. So we had to make sure, because one of them doesn't live in the city and the other one was in the hospital, so we had to make sure that we were protecting them.
This is also a question, it's Barry Sims, WBAL TV, dealing with the gun. Apparently there was a warrant out from Baltimore County about a theft of a gun, and trying to see if that's also connected to this case, and what do you know about all of that?
We know that he did steal someone's gun. That was another reason that indicated that we needed to put that flyer out as well. I don't know if we got that before or after, but we knew that he had access to a gun, and he made several statements that he was going to be dangerous and maybe hard to take into custody, which ended up not being the case, but thankfully. But yes, we do know about the gun. There was a warrant. He's charged with that case as well.
You said he made several statements about the gun. Where were these statements made, and when did he make them?
I don't know why he made them. He's a psychopath.
When did he make them?
He made them when he stole the weapon from the individual he stole the weapon from.
Hi, WYPR Emily. Can you give us any details about the evidence that linked Billingsley to LaPere, camera footage, DNA, cell phone, anything? You say you're certain?
I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you that our detectives the same detective happened to be on the scene of both cases and was able to pick out the suspect pretty quick.
Okay. And just a follow-up. I'm slightly confused after the answer to WMAR's question. She had asked why you waited to announce the Edmondson Avenue, and you said you wanted to be certain about the suspect. So but you said earlier that you knew at the time of the last press conference that he was involved in both cases. When exactly were you for sure that this was the person?
Probably not long before that press conference. We did the press conference. Once our detective confirmed, because all we had was the detective saying that it was the same person. We had to confirm through other means of evidence to tie him to that case with Miss LaPere before we could tie him to Edmondson Avenue. We knew he did Edmondson. We just had to tie the two cases together. But we didn't release Edmondson simply because I don't think it would have helped us at the time. I think we did not want to kind of tip our hands that we knew that he did Edmondson, because we still have to interview him for Edmondson. And he may just say he didn't do it. So we don't want to give him any indication of what we have. The murder warrant itself was going to cause him to flee.
Thank you.
Hi, Nicole Skanga, CBS News. Thank you so much for doing this. I realize it was a prior administration, but hoping someone here can offer clarity to the public. Why was this dangerous criminal on the streets in the first place? What were the terms of his release and eventual supervision?
Yes, thank you. So basically in June 23rd, 2013, he was charged with a crime. It took about 2015 before he actually went to court. When he pled guilty in court, he pled guilty to a sex offense in the first degree. And then you have, in Maryland, what's called sentencing guidelines. His guidelines for that offense were about 15 years to 25 years. He received a sentence of 30 years, suspend all but 14 years, which meant that he would be incarcerated for 14 years. However, in the state of Maryland, you can earn what's called diminution credits. We get almost 30 days of good time for almost every day, for every month that you're in custody and you're not messing up. So he had what's called diminution credits. Therefore, he didn't need to be paroled. He did a little less than 2/3 of his sentence, and that's what the law allows. So when you look at it, it was more or less the systematic, to me, failure in terms of what happened, because when you look at this, the plea bargain was a little bit below guidelines, but it was a different administration. I don't know all the issues within the particular case. You can maybe have a victim who doesn't want to testify. It's very difficult when you do sex offense cases because you may or may not have the DNA. There are a number of different issues. I wasn't a prosecutor, so we don't have that information. But what we do have is that there was the offer of 30 years to suspend all but 14. We even know that the judge who handled the case was a little reluctant in terms of accepting that plea bargain. Hindsight, like they say, is always 20/20. I think now that we see how diminution credits work and how an individual that, yes, had a prior conviction for, I believe, a robbery and assault convictions as well, that, you know, at the end of the day, I think the prosecutor who handled the case would say, we had a dangerous individual off the streets for a few years. Yes, but we also now need to look at, in terms of the system that allows for the diminution credits of an individual with his background as well as with those charges. So that's why I say the systematic.
Ultimately, it was a judge who authorized his release.
Well, it was the state's attorney's office that made the offer, and the court accepted that offer. So it was everyone involved.
And can I just ask the commissioner just one quick follow-up, because you had mentioned that all cases since his release are under review for possible connections to other incidents. Is there any evidence of other criminal activity that this suspect could be connected to?
Not right now. If we had that, we would have put the flyer out as soon as we had the warrant for Edmondson Avenue. But there's no indication right now that he has done anything that we're aware of since October 22nd. That doesn't mean he hasn't done anything that's not reported. And if anybody is a victim of something he's done since October 22nd, please come forward, because we need to speak to you, because we want to speak to all the victims of this individual, because he's thankfully we got him into custody now. Hopefully we can put him away for a longer period of time, the rest of his life.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks for doing this. Evan Lambert with News Nation. For the state's attorney and the mayor, going back to the good time credit, we know from the parole commission that they denied him parole twice before he was released. Should that be a red flag, and should that be changed in the law as a warning that somebody who the parole commission is saying is not eligible for release then just gets out?
Well, look, without a doubt, when you look at the law, they changed the law, I mean, the legislature changed the law in 2016 that said if you do a sexual act, the first degree, to a individual 16 or younger, you are not eligible for diminution credits. I would ask, and I would love to see that law looked at again in terms of all sexual acts, whether in the first degree, whether it's rape or sexual assault. So to answer your question, I'm not a member of the legislature, but I do think that's something that we should all look at, because it helps to keep our public a little more safe. Because if an individual with that background, and you also may look at the background, the prior repeat violent offender, the diminution credits, they're going to get them no matter what happens, because that is the law. And so when you look at it, I think for us, we need to see what we can learn from this and understand how the diminution credits work and how it's letting some individuals that may not be fully rehabilitated back on the streets maybe a little more quickly than they should be.
And I'll just say it very simply. The state's attorney has said it very eloquently. Rapists shouldn't be let out early, period. When you rape someone, no matter if it's someone's daughter, son, their wife, like, you should not get out early, period, for that kind of offense.
And then one quick follow-up for the police chief. How is it possible, if he was being surveilled and tracked so closely for 6 days, that he wasn't able to be arrested in that time period?
Because we never got close enough. 88 meters is the closest I believe we got, which is about 300 feet, which is about the size of a football field. And that was while we were doing that was why the delay was for the press conference, because we knew where he was at and we were looking for him. He just disappeared, and then we weren't able to track him. And then as soon as the press conference happened, the devices we were tracking him on were disconnected, and he started using other means to communicate.
We lose him?
Events on Monday when the murder of Pava LaPere occurred, how he got into the building, when, what happened right after that?
Monday is when we discovered Miss LaPere. She was reported missing a few hours prior, and we ended up recovering her body at that address. It seems that she was probably murdered on Friday night. and it wasn't recovered until they reported her missing on Monday.
Can you give any more detail on Friday night? I mean, again, sequence how it occurred.
Sir, I'm sorry you weren't here the other day, but we're not going to do that. One, this is an open and active case, but also, again, at the request of the family, we are not publicly sharing those details because the reality is that this young woman was murdered by this man. He will do that time, all of that will come out, but the family has asked that we not share those kind of details, and we're just going to ask you guys to respect that wish.
Good morning, Mark Meredith with Fox News. I do want to follow up on Brian's question because I do think it's interesting. So police now believe that Friday was the time of the actual incident. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And then between Friday and Monday, she wasn't reported until Monday morning to be missing, correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Second question. When you guys were able to apprehend him last night, was it his cell phone essentially that gave him away, or how were you able to determine at the train station that's where he was?
I'm not going to release that because it would put people in jeopardy.
Okay. And last question. This is my last question for the state attorney. Can you say what the conditions were of his release at the time? What his conditions were?
Yes, he was supposed to make sure he complied and followed the laws of this great state of Maryland. He was also make sure he was supposed to be in compliance with being a sexual offender registry because the previous conviction forced him to be on the sexual offender registry. And he was also supposed to see his parole and or probation agent. And so based on all of that, I'm sure he also had to stay away from the victims of the previous offense as well. And he was not allowed to be near any weapons or any handguns or anything, or also around any other felons that he knew of.
So he was on probation?
He was on parole and probation. Yes, sir, he was on both.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And one thing I can tell you, and another reason why we held off a little bit on Edmondson was he was compliant with our sex offender registry. He was supposed to show up on Monday, and he never showed up.
Show up to where Monday?
He was supposed to show up and register with our sex offender unit.
To register for the first time?
No. He has to do periodic checks, and he was compliant. And we knew he was scheduled to check in with our sex offender registry unit on Monday, and he didn't do it.
I have a quick follow-up. Oh, thank you. Julia Jester with NBC News. I have a quick follow-up. I know you don't want to release details of the murder itself due to the family's privacy, but given that you said there was no sign of forced entry into the building, can you clarify where she was found, if they had broken into her residence, since there was no sign of forced entry?
No, we're not. The family has asked we not release any details, and we're going to honor
them what to say
wishes.
too. She said no.
And then a question for you and the mayor and whoever else wants to answer. Obviously, this is a horrific, tragic murder of Pava and someone who was beloved in the community. What do you say to the families of victims who their perpetrators haven't been apprehended and they haven't had quite the high-profile press conferences as these of those that are still on the run and unsolved?
I can tell you, our homicide detectives, it doesn't matter who the victim is, our homicide detectives investigate those cases like it was a family member. That's the unique thing about our homicide unit. That same day that Miss LaPere was killed, Mr. Braxton was killed. 15 years old, shot on Gilmore Street. They're investigating that case as diligently as they can. What happened in this case, the evidence just came quicker to them. It's not because of any other thing other than the fact that we got the evidence on this case quicker than we've got the evidence on Gilmore. We've got some evidence on Gilmore, and I guarantee our homicide detectives are going to close that case too. And we'll have a press conference to tell you we closed that case of the 15-year-old. But we also have over 200 other homicide victims in this city this year. So we work to try to solve every one of those cases. Our homicide detectives is one of the best in the country, and they work their butts off every single day to try to solve every murder.
And I'll just add that the press conference on Monday, we talked about young Rashid as well. Now, we didn't get any questions about him, but we talked about him, and we've talked to his family. I've talked to his dad, and our detectives do not care who it is. They work every case the same way. I see how it impacts them. I see how it even impacts their mental state, and have to make sure that they themselves are okay, because it's not normal to do what they do every day, and they do it better than any police department in the country, for my money. And we're going to continue to make sure that every single family that goes through something like this gets that same treatment. But we also have to continue to push all of us in the community to make sure when we know who is shot and killed and murdered someone else's family member, that we let somebody know and treat it just like it was our own family.
Okay, that was a good clapback.
And I want to correct, I'm sorry, it was the 15-year-old is Rashid Maxwell, not Braxton. I apologize.
Oh, you cancel for that now. Oof. Oh. So he came with a good clapback. My audio's still maxing out. I'm supposed to be a limiter. I don't know what's going on with that. Testing. There, I think I said it. So this is him right here, arrested. So that Edmonston, the raping and the arson that took place, that's what we were talking about at the beginning of the stream. So supposedly they were watching him, I guess, from then. They were saying that this guy actually knew, I guess, the victim. They were also saying that he worked at the building. Now, when I was reading the Daily Mail, it said he posed as a maintenance worker. But they're saying that Jason actually knew the victims from a week ago. The victims they survived, but they were in critical condition. Lord Almighty. So this incident, so let me just show you here real quick for the people that missed it. Where's it at? Okay, here it is. Did I just see? Okay. Through the course of the investigation, BBT can confirm that Billingsley is wanted in connection to an attempted murder, arson, and that took place September 19th on the 800 block of Edmondson Avenue. Also, that they're talking about Pava, this particular thing here, but the one from before. Wait, let me see. Hold on. Did I read that right? An attempted murder in connection to an attempted murder. Okay, maybe could be all the same. Evidence gathered through the course of the initial investigation by detectives was able to connect the suspect Billingsley to a homicide of Pava and the September 19th case. So the September 19th case, that's where the whole the burning of the basement over here. They're saying that he actually knew these people. They say they don't know if there's a connection with Pava and Jason, the killer, but with this incident from a week ago, they're saying that there is a connection, that this guy worked there at the building. I don't know what he did. This article says that he was supposedly or posed as a maintenance worker. Crazy, man. He knew the victims from the first crime and arson, not Powell, right? Let me just get the super chat real quick here. So, Jamie, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Says, hi, Melon Chat. This is absolutely disgusting. All of it. I feel so bad for Powell's family. Bring on the mother effing lawsuit. They probably could. I mean, I don't know. Police were watching from the first incident, but they did, because they said they knew each other. They didn't think he was going to start randomly attacking people, and then he ends up killing Pava. Hey, Mac, thank you so much for the membership. Says, happy Thursday, Mel. Thank you. Jamie Smith, thank you for the membership. Mandy, I got that already. And Nelly77, thank you for the 7 months. Says, good morning, Mel in chat. So, I don't know. People are getting tired of these criminals being let out early. There's some sort of, I mean, you could kind of say, some people are saying, oh, it doesn't mean good behavior. It kind of is somewhat, I guess. With good behavior, you get like this credit. I mean, the credit was for the years, I think, that he was already in jail, but then also he got some credit, it seems like, for just not acting out in prison. So they add 30 days or something like that every 30 days. I don't know. But it's also like the system thing that's in place that's set to like let them out if it's not somebody under 15 or 16, I think, because they were talking about changing that through the legislature, and that it was a previous administration. I don't know, man. That is so crazy. I mean, I'd be pretty frustrated if I was family. We could check out some of this. Let me see. we could check out some of this. So I the stream that I had set for 1:30, I moved it over to 2:30 because the thing is I have to leave around that time, 1:30, to go pick up my daughter. I was gonna let the stream run and then just when I come back catch up, but I figured at 2:30 I'll just start it over the hearing and we'll watch it together. For those that want to watch it with me, I think it's better that I'm there rather just trying to run back and catch up. We can watch some of this from yesterday, the vigil.
Invite Pava's family to the podium to say
Pava's family.
A few words.
And that mayor he had a good clapback for the media because, like, you know, the media was like, you know, they're trying to first say, well, why other stories getting the attention, and which they actually did do 2 stories in that first press conference, and it had people a little bit confused, but look, now it helped them out actually. And then he also kind of, I think the reporter was saying something like, well, you know, why are all these other people, why is this one getting more attention than others or something like that? And he came back and was like, we actually did 2 stories and you guys didn't ask anything about that. So it's like putting it back on them. Like, you are the ones that are the media that are showing these stories. You didn't ask questions about the other case we were talking about. But then you want to try to turn it on me and say that, oh, we don't cover other cases. Oh, we have one right here. You didn't say shit, right?
Hi. My name is Frank LaPere. Our son Nico and my wife Caroline. We're Pava's family. I'm gonna do my best to get through this. And we're just gonna talk about Pava Marie. That's who we knew. We're gonna talk about the little girl and the young lady that he might not have gotten to know. A couple of comments were made earlier today which are really poignant and bring up thoughts that I wanted to share. I've just got some buzzwords here that I'm just going to ramble about. Stubborn and sly. Sneaking out in the middle of the night to ride a bicycle 10 miles across Tucson, Arizona, and sneaking back in before we woke up.
And she's from Arizona.
It's not a small city. But she was that way. She's always been a leader, always been driven and creative, always intended to be a high achiever. Even didn't mention it or say it or anything, but you could just tell that she knew what she wanted to accomplish, and there was nothing that would get in her way of accomplishing that. Pava used to take piano lessons, and she would practice ferociously. Many people have mentioned how she would really beat herself up for making a slight mistake. Well, I was a musician, and unfortunately I would comment every time she missed a note. And so she stopped playing for me. She would play for Nico, and she'd play for Caroline. But it wasn't until my birthday a few years ago she was here, and she sent me a video playing her piano, and I will save that forever. Hold on. She got pretty good at it. She was the definition of daddy's little girl. She had me wrapped, and still does. She turned from being daddy's little girl into being a girl boss. And she treated me the same way. She was relentless in her goals of accomplishing things. She loved cats. We tried to convince her to take her very, very loud cat with her from Tucson to Baltimore, but she said that wouldn't be fair to the cat. She was really never good at naming her pets. She had a brown rabbit called Fudge, and she had a orange tabby with 2 targets on its side that she calls Bullseye, and he's making noise at our house in Tucson right now. She's got a black cat named Bean, and she had a white cat called Snowflake. So while she was not overly creative in naming her pet, she saved her creativity for what she and her wonderful group at iCkEdMeL is doing for this world. She got her first job when she was 15 years old, and they hired her on the spot and then had to tell her, well, you're only 15 and I don't know if you can serve in a restaurant. So she did work there and still has some friends from there. Workaholic. I will take credit for that. I've owned my own businesses my whole life and Pava's whole life. Nothing to the scope of what our daughter created. But when she was sending you guys pictures of those beautiful Baltimore sunrises, because she got into work early, she, of course, knew but didn't care about the fact that she shared with me, which is at 3 o'clock in the morning in Tucson. But I happened to be up early, just like her. And so we would talk early before anyone else was up and about. They were beautiful sunrises, and I would send her a picture of the Tucson sunrise in return. Pava is from Polish, Croatian, and Italian roots. The talking with her hands part, that comes from Sicily. She liked the number 1111, and 1111 has always been a special number in our family. And we would text her at 1111 wherever we were, and she would text us. And it was just a special little connection that we always wanted to enjoy with her. She got in just enough trouble at school, but was definitely considered a ringleader. Didn't get into too much trouble, although we did get a call from the sheriff in the middle of the night once. She caught me smoking once, or suspected. And we were at a home that we had in Rhode Island, which is where our second business was. And I got up early in the morning and got a cup of coffee, and I'd run outside and smoke a cigarette. And she got up right after me and waited for me to go outside and chased me around the house as I ran in the back door, and she read me the riot act. She wanted me to stop, and she made me stop. And she's determined to accomplish what she sets her mind out to accomplish. And we love that about her. She came to Johns Hopkins to become a doctor and then realized she didn't like blood. So she, I guess, made the best of it. We are very proud of what she did at Hopkins and the student entrepreneurship program. I graduated from the University of Arizona's student entrepreneurship program a long time ago, and I'm so happy that she and her group created what they did at Hopkins. I used to own a printing company in Austin, Texas, before we moved to Rhode Island. And when things would go bad, I would say the F word. And I'd say the F word around the house, I guess, too much. And I think I looked over at you, and I looked back, and I said, I think Pava just said F-U-G-I-T. One word, fug it.
She said it a lot.
And if you know her, it's one of her words. I'll take credit for that one, too. You guys have mentioned Pava's energy. I strongly believe in what I call the energy of the universe. And I believe the energy in me and in all of you and in Pava goes to a source of energy that will join us again when we meet with her in the future. So I want to thank you all for being here and for loving our daughter and taking care of her. We're going to take her away from Baltimore, but her presence will never leave here. And thank you very, very much for loving our girl. Thank you.
Frank shared with me earlier a little bit about when Pava came into this world from Austin to Tucson. I told him that my boys who are here today were born in Tucson, and he said, "What hospital?" I said, "Tucson Medical Center." He said, "That's where Pava was born." Pava loved when kids were around. She loved to pour into the next generation, and I'd like to introduce you to her friend, her co-founder, and the father of whom I believe is the first iCkEdMeL baby, Sherrod Davis.
All right, so I wanted to just show the parrot speaking. I'll put the link for that whole vigil in the description of this video. Let me just put it right now. Well, if you want to watch the whole thing, you can. Vigil, I'll put the link down. Okay. All right, I added that there. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on to see what goes on with the whole situation. It's really, really, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be, especially that this guy was just back out after doing what he did in 2013, I think it was. But not only that, then a week prior, R-ing this mother in front of the other person in a basement and trying to burn them alive. I can't imagine the trauma. And there was, I think, a 5-year-old on the upper level that had some smoke inhalation issues. So just really, really crazy stuff going on these days. So, yeah, I hope you guys will come check me out later for 2:30. I don't have any notifications, by the way. This is why, like, I got to just do this backup channel. That's why I'm doing the backup channel, because it's just this whole thing of like 3 notifications per day. Sometimes that works if I'm like doing other things, but then when we're ready to get cracking again, it's just like it's like not really enough to work with. So yeah, subscribe to the backup channel. I'm still working on fixing it up. I haven't posted anything on there yet. Okay, that's coming. Just give me a little bit of time. I probably will make like an informal video just saying, hey, this is the backup channel. This is what it's for. But yeah, I will be back 2:30. I pushed to 2:30, and then we'll see what else comes today. And then also there's the whole thing of like, what are we gonna do next week? Because the Courtney Clemmings, the OnlyFans model, she has like a hearing October 5th. You see, Mo pulled it up. October 5th is a hearing. I don't know if it's the actual trial. I don't know what that hearing's about. The other thing this other thing that Mandy pointed out, this other trial is happening next week. This actually seems really interesting to me about this. I think it was stepfather or parents that locked up a kid in a box.
Accused of locking their adopted son in a small room in the garage for up to 18 hours a day had their case back in court today. Jesse Carbonari tells us when their trial could now begin.
Attorneys say a lot of progress has been made on the case, but they still need more time, so they asked the judge to move the original May trial date to October. Jury selection is now expected to begin on September 29th.
So, I mean, this is something we could do next week. I wonder, I'll try to look more into it. Mo pulled up some stuff. I'll try to look into both of these things, find out what's going on and what dates. Maybe we can do a trial in the meantime. We're definitely going to do Harmony, so we'll see. Are you Dubio? Good. And I saw somebody else talk about Susan. So I I don't know when we're gonna fit that in, but we'll see if we can do it one of these days, or maybe over the weekend or something. I know her body was found. The link, I'll put the link again. It's in the description. I'll post it in the chat again. iCkEdMeL clips. I'm also going to post it in the community tab in a bit. I think I'll be able to do that too, so people can find it. All right, so I'll catch you guys in a little bit, in about about 2.5 hours, something like that. All right. Okay. Thank you guys for joining. Take care. Peace. Bloop. And I'll try to fix the damn delay to the audio delay. I guess I'm going to have to keep restarting the computer before live streams. I'm going to try to download a codec again. I can't figure that issue out. I thought I figured it out and I haven't. I don't know how to